In today's Targets in Focus, we'll be taking a look at pound dollar, pound yen and euro pound. Joining me on the line is Timothy Davis, Global Strategist at TD Securities. Thanks for joining me, Timothy. Pound dollar fell 0.15% to 152.09 after Fitch Ratings on Friday downgraded the UK's AAA rating by one notch with a stable outlook, citing the deteriorating outlook. With this in mind, what are your short and long-term forecasts for pound dollar?
So in the near term, we think that sterling will be a little bit stronger against the dollar. In the UK, we think that negative sentiment has been overdone, and we do see although we do see a strong possibility of a technical recession with the Q1 GDP numbers coming out later this week. We think that the story going forward will be more a story of slow growth rather than a deep recession. In terms of UK QE, we think that although there is a chance for an extension, and falling commodity prices recently may have made this a little more likely that the MPC won't extend QE at their meeting in May. And we think that they're likely to focus more on credit easing rather than quantitative easing, so that easing will be done through different channels rather than those that would weaken the pound. Now, there have been moves from quite a few analysts recently to remove or push back their QE forecasts, so the pound's move may be a little bit smaller than what we would have expected a couple of weeks ago, based on a no QE outcome. But we still expect that this will drive sterling higher in the near term. On the more longer term, we see sterling weakening against the dollar. This is mainly due to dollar strength as the Fed begins to taper its QE program towards the end of this year, in the fourth quarter of this year, and possibly even ends its QE program at the start of next year.
And what are your short, mid and long-term projections for the pound yen?
In the short term, we see little to really stop the yen weakening further, and we do think that in terms of dollar yen, we could get through that 100 barrier fairly soon. But we do expect there to be sterling outperformance again, similar to the story against the dollar. We think that there won't be further QE in the UK, so that should give sterling a bit of a leg up. So we should see sterling yen higher in the short term. More over the long term, again, the same. We would expect the kind of slow growth in the UK to continue to weigh on sterling, and that as the yen continues to weaken, that should sterling's strength may kind of come under a little pressure.
The pound has dropped toward a 1-month low against the euro. The single currency has remained under pressure following comment about possible rate cuts by a senior European Central Bank official last week. What are your short, mid and long-term forecasts for euro pound?
Across all of those time horizons, we don't really see too much of a movement in the euro-sterling cross. They're both places which we see fairly slow growth in the short and the medium term, and both have central banks that are more likely to ease than to hike. We'd expect both the Bank of England, as I said, to stay on hold, and the ECB to stay on hold, and this should keep the currency pair fairly stable. However, there are some fairly big risks that either of those central banks could ease further, which would obviously see that respective currency underperform. If we see the ECB cut, then we could see the euro weaker against sterling. If we see more QE in the UK, we would expect to see sterling weaker against the euro. But as I say, our base case is that neither of those central banks will ease policy at this stage, so we would expect that currency pair to stay fairly steady.
That's all for now, but stay tuned to Dukascopy TV for more exclusive interviews and updates from the TV team. Goodbye for now.